voyages of the starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission: to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilization, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the landing party. I'm your captain, Graham Nolan, and we are starting off season 2 of the original series. Stardate 2410.30, Catspaw, written by Robert Bloch, who returns in the second season. He had already written What Are Little Girls Made Of for the first season. Excellent episode. Directed by Joseph Pevney. Now, Star Trek returned for season 2 in a different time slot with a Halloween episode written by Terror Master Robert Bloch. The budget had been cut back for this season to $185,000 per episode. But Leonard Nimoy threatened to walk if they didn't renegotiate his contract. Roddenberry didn't like being held over a barrel, so he cut a deal with Lawrence Montaigne to play a replacement Vulcan in the event that Nimoy walked. Montaigne, you will remember, played a Romulan officer in Balance of Terror, and he eventually did play a Vulcan in Amok Time. The irony of this situation is that NBC, who didn't want the character of Spock in the first place, came to Nimoy's defense because they saw the incredible amount of fan mail coming in. They ended up giving Nimoy a raise and some script control on how his character was written. All this to say that after episode 1 was filmed, Star Trek was already $28,000 in the red. This is like this running story, this running theme with this show. They're always in the red, and it's bankrupting Desilu by this point. This is the episode that introduces Walter Koenig as Chekhov, Davy Jones' hair and all. He really has the wig on in this one. We also have the final appearance of Aaron's man crush, Lieutenant DeSalle. When Scotty was moved up to lieutenant commander, Gene Kuhn decided he needed a character to run engineering when Scotty was in command or down on a planet. So they promoted DeSalle to assistant chief engineer, which is the title he's given in this episode. This explains why he's wearing a red tunic in this episode and not the gold in his previous appearances. But as the scripts came in, when Scott was in command of the bridge, the action would shift from whatever's happening to Kirk and Spock on the planet, and there were no side trips to engineering needed. So it was bye-bye DeSalle. All right, let's bring in our landing party. First one in the room, and this is a shocker, Mr. Ron Garney.
A shocker. It's a shock.
The shock of Ron Garney. Then we have credits to Navy Beans, Mr. DeSalle's main man himself, Aaron LaPresta.
How can you give a guy one of the best lines in all 3 seasons? I'll bet credits to Navy Beans. We can put a dent in it. And then you cut him from the show? Are you kidding me?
I think this episode has a better line than that.
Well, Spock's line, I love Spock's line where he says, comment, Mr. Spock. And he goes, very bad poetry. And he goes, a useful comment, Mr. Spock.
That is a good line.
My favorite line is, I don't know what you are, but you're not a woman.
Wait, what is it? Say it again.
I don't know what you are, but you're not a woman. As he wipes
He throws her down, right? And he's like, I don't know what you are, but you're not a woman.
Well, I know someone who is a woman.
And she's like,
I'm
a woman.
Hello.
Hello, Anna.
That is a woman.
Hi.
Look at that woman.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
Hey,
Your mic's a little hot.
Is that better?
No.
No.
look at you, all full and
Oh, shush up. I'm fat. I
Yeah.
know.
Baby.
Full of baby and alive.
I'm
and
fat.
electric.
Yes. I'm
You are
fat.
not
I know.
You just
fat.
look
My
like you're
goodness.
glowing with baby.
Radiation poisoning.
Uh-huh.
It's weird to see you because I happened across a video that you had done from 4 years ago of Berserker. Actually, I didn't know you
I
had done
didn't.
one because I didn't know who you were at the time. But I saw a video and you were talking about how the fans were flipping out because Boom did the Kickstarter, and you did a whole video on it, and you look different, like obviously, but it's weird to see because you almost don't even look like the same person in a way.
Was my hair blonde back then?
No, no, it wasn't. You just look maybe just younger to me, or like maybe because you're pregnant. And
Yeah, you got
not
that
younger in a bad way.
glowing energy. Yes.
Because
Yeah.
now I'm old and fat, and back
I
then
knew
I
you were
was-
gonna say that. Man.
See, that's a typical woman, how she hears something.
Yeah.
Let's see the belly. Come
You'll
on, let's
actually be able
see
to
it.
see it now because I'm.
Oh, she's got the big sweaters on now. Look at that.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
look
go
at
here.
that! Wow.
Oh, there it
yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Holy,
Got a baby in there for sure now.
Yep.
that is crazy.
Did you guys decide on a name?
Nope.
Still, yeah, that's still up in the air.
You know what? I've decided to not name him until he's out of me because he's driving me crazy, and I
I
don't
love the
want
way
to, like.
I love the way it just sounds like something from Alien. Until he's out of me. Get it out of me.
Listen, this kid, it's either he wants to claw his way out or he hates me because he's like, "Oh, you want to sleep?"
He's kicking the crap out of you, huh?
He's kicking, he's punching, he's hiccuping, he's headbutting.
That's not his foot poking through you.
Mm.
He's gonna be a badass.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he's
Come
very
on.
active, so
He's working the heavy bag in there, you know.
Oh,
I just
boy.
want him out at this point. So
How far along are you?
I think I have a month and a half left.
Okay.
You're
Well,
due
it's
around
coming.
Christmas, right?
It's coming.
Yeah, Christmas. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
There's no I'm reading these comments. There's no deeper hole she can take it. She's a big girl.
Yeah.
All right. So credits to Navy Beans Lepresti.
Yes.
You know, this is the first, we talked about how at one point, they're talking about money in the Star Trek universe, even though there's not supposed to be any money, but
Mhm.
people, are getting paid and all this kind of stuff. This is the first time they refer to credits. Because
Mhm.
the phrase is an old naval phrase from the early 20th century. It's dollars to Navy beans, meaning,
Mhm.
it's such a sure bet. They're willing to bet money versus shitty military chow. So that's where the phrase comes from. And then this one, they turn it to credits to Navy beans that they can punch a hole in it. So it's a sure bet. But I guess David Gerald, his script for Trouble with Tribbles had come in, and he used the term credits at the same time that they were rewriting this one, and that's when they stuck that in.
Oh.
So that's where credits in the Star Trek universe come from. How about that? Take that to the bank.
So basically, David Gerald gets credit for the credits.
He gets credit for the credits, but he gets no Navy beans.
That's right. Well,
Never
my
heard
mom
of
used to make a pretty mean Navy bean and ham soup thing. That was, that's poor folk used to eat.
That sounds horrible.
No, it was actually good. Navy beans and those white Navy beans and like ham hocks or something in there. It was good.
All right. All right.
But I'm a man of simple tastes.
You're a simple man.
Simple.
Nice.
So I always, now it's probably the kid in me, but I always liked this episode because it was the Halloween episode, right? Because you had the old witches, and then of course that was with the joke about the Spock's line about very bad poetry, and the castle and the cat and the wizard and the skeleton hanging there in the
right.
I don't care if the plot's any good or not. I just like the atmosphere. So this is one of my favorites of the second season.
This one didn't replay that much. Because I remember seeing it for the first time, and I don't remember. I don't think it was in heavy rotation in the when they were rerunning in the reruns, you know.
Mm-hmm.
What was the air date?
Well, it's the air date. This is like the 4th or 5th episode that aired in the 2nd season. So it aired 4 days before Halloween.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why they aired that episode. I mean,
right.
That's the first, when I saw it the first time, I thought it was all about Halloween.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt.
Witches, Captain Kirk, you know.
The
Captain Kirk. Yeah, I mean, it was totally Halloween, and it was obviously deliberately put there for that.
Yeah. But you know what I got to say, Kirk, as a leader here, you know, probably not too bright to go down to this planet with your first officer. Your second officer's already down there. Your third officer's down there too, and you don't have a security team with you, and you beam into the situation, and you're leaving this guy who's just the chief assistant.
Whoa, hang on. Do not belittle DeSalle. DeSalle could handle himself.
Well, you know what? Kirk got back up to the ship and realized, DeSalle, you suck. He fired him. He was gone. Well, he never appeared again.
he got jobbed because DeSalle put a dent in that thing. And you remember what the Warlock dude, what was his name? Korob or whatever.
Yeah, Korob.
Then when he was freeing him, he goes, they were about to escape anyway, which is a clear compliment to DeSalle's tactics for trying to break through that force field. So
even that though, it just, I'm sorry, but this is not one of my favorite episodes. It's so hokey. Even as Korob with the staff and the, you know, the bald head, and it was more like a Munsters.
You know, and Sylvia, I mean, really?
Yeah, it's just like they could have made a whole spoofy TV series, tongue in cheek, like the Munsters, with those characters in it.
I like when she goes, I can be any woman you want, and all of a sudden she changes, and then she steps back and changes again, and she goes,
yeah, she does that.
It's like Kirk is like, you know what? I'm out.
Yeah, and then they kiss, and you can see. I don't know if it's on purpose, but Shatner, or it was because they had to have a certain way of kissing on television then.
Yeah,
but he always has his mouth kind of closed, like he's going to gag if he has to open.
Yeah. You know? But he's also talking to her. He
did that with Uhura too in that other episode. Like the first interracial kiss, and really their mouths are just against each other, but it looks like there's no.
Well, in that case, they were being forced into it, and they're trying to fight against it. So that one you can give it a pass, but
now see, Ron, I would have thought, Ron, that this would have been your favorite episode for the way he treated that chick, right? Because he's like, "You are using me," and he goes, "Why not?"
Yeah.
You know?
Why would that be my favorite episode?
He throws her. Well, you said you're not a woman.
Back up.
Oh, look at that dog.
Why would that be my favorite episode because of that moment?
Well, because you just said that your favorite line in the episode was when he throws her down and says, "I don't know what you are, but you're not a woman."
It's just hilarious.
He's got a point.
But that doesn't make it my favorite episode. My favorite line in the episode. Look at that doggy.
Kirk was nobody's sucker in this episode. I'll tell you that.
What's his or her name?
This is Tulip.
Oh, that's a cute
those eyes on Tulip.
Hello, Tulip.
I like how the eyes are going off in different directions.
Yes.
Eyes.
Hi there.
So she can watch me and Peaches at the same time.
I want to hear, as always, I want to hear what Anna thinks of this episode.
Dude, this is probably the 4th time I've had to sit through this episode. I can't stand it. I watched it once.
Look at that. Me and Anna are in agreement for
I watched it once. I never need to watch it again, and I can't believe I fell asleep watching it again today because I'm like, I know I've seen this. I remember the ending.
Yeah.
I actually dozed off a little bit while I was watching it today too.
What?
Yeah.
It's just so hokey and
what? Come on.
The only thing that brings it around is the very last line when somebody Kirk or Spock, probably McCoy says, so it was all a dream, and Kirk says it was no dream. Such and such is dead. Meaning the guy that they beamed up in the very beginning, so that grounds it at the very end that this, this fanciful story still had repercussions. It still had the death was real of a crewman and it affected
Well,
her.
they started off with foreboding with a big black cat that was gigantic, and I mean, the whole thing was just a miserable, depressing episode.
Oh, this episode used dun 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 more than any other episode. Dun 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 dun. Come on. Got Alexander Courage getting in there and giving us some mood music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let's bag this one. Go on to the next episode.
Oh, what are you talking about? Let's get into this. Come on.
I'm joking, for Christ's sake.
Oh, come on, Ron. Gee,
we can't get ahead
Get
of
off my
ourselves.
back, Lupresti.
Oh, yeah, I'm just starting. What did you guys think of what did you think of the little Muppets at the end?
Well, that was going to be my
thing I remember.
See the strings.
Yeah. I remember, like, to be fair, when the show aired, most people had black and white TVs and they were small and they weren't high definition, so you probably didn't see that shit back then.
Yeah.
But now, since they adjusted contrast, we have high definition, that stuff just pops off. But I remember seeing that and thinking, geez, those are freaky looking. Those little pipe cleaner creatures.
They freaked me out when I was a kid.
Yeah, I thought they were kind of creepy and kind of cool.
That is what they actually really look like, and that they were so small and they were capable of all of that.
Yes.
That was like, what the fuck?
Well, how did they carry the transmuter around? It was bigger than both of them put together.
Yeah. Well, they have to take another form to be able to do it. Because she said the power is in the mind, but the transmuter is like a tool that helps direct it.
See, that's what they should. Well, they should have used those kinds of aliens more throughout the series, as opposed to always humanoid looking like Andorians. They always look like people from another country, but just at a comic convention. If they had like aliens that were like this big, that looked like these weird little anteaters with blue hair or something, that would have been really interesting. Like on Journey to Babel or something, the two of the ambassadors are those creatures, or
John Edgar says that Cthulhu. That was Cthulhu. Robert Bloch was a fan of Lovecraft and insisted on that squid puppet.
I don't know. I get what you're saying, Ron, that this is a silly episode, and
why are you coming?
It was beyond silly.
Okay, and Anna too. Anna and you both think this is a silly episode, and Graham. I get that, but there's that sort
everybody
of
zoom in on Aaron right now.
As a kid watching this sort of Halloween monster episode of Trek, you gotta love it. That's all I'm saying. I just,
I watched it as a kid and I did not love it.
Well, are you a big monster fan though, or are you more of a sci-fi fan?
No, I like.
Can you take that off the screen, Graham?
No, I like monsters, which is why this is so disappointing. If you're gonna
take that Abbott and Costello hater off the screen,
yeah. You don't have you say you gotta love it. No, you don't. For me, part of the problem with the episode is that it sucks you out of the escape that Star Trek is overall. It's so unrealistically. It's probably one of the more campy episodes they've ever had, and very little to do with anything science fiction other than sort of a glammed up, gratuitous Halloween trick. I mean, it just didn't. There wasn't anything really redeeming about the story that I could, it seemed dismal and depressing. Probably in large part because the budget got cut down quite a bit.
Well, there was even more to it in the original story. It was much more fantasy, where it had to do with like magic and mysticism and stuff like that. And at that time in 1967, NBC was saying, no, none of that stuff can stay. You have to bring this around to action adventure, which is what we're asking for Star Trek to be. And they didn't want that kind of witchcraft bullshit out there as part of the show, as part of when this is supposed to deal with science adventure,
especially coming off of 2 episodes earlier, City on the Edge of Forever, which is the
Mhm.
greatest episode
Right?
in Star
Anna?
Trek history.
Well, it's better than this episode.
Oh!
Oh, we got an admission.
Oh!
Nice. All right. We
Yeah,
pulled
this
it off.
episode's painful. Like,
Wow. Is this one of your worst episodes? I mean, where
oh,
does this one
hands
stack up
down.
next to
This is already. I'll tell you
Alternative
my rating.
Factor?
This is a 1. This is a 1.
Hey,
This
don't
is
get ahead of
awful.
yourself. Think about it a little
What,
bit. We still have
I
time.
have.
what did you give Alternative Factor?
I don't know, but it's better than this.
Oh, okay. So maybe a
No,
2 for that?
alternative
I
factor
would
better
have given
than this.
Alternative Factor maybe
No.
a 6. Maybe that wasn't one of my
A
favorites.
6? Oh my
Wait,
god.
which is the Alternative Factor? That was okay. That was
That's the one with
Lazarus.
Lazarus.
Okay,
Look,
forget.
I think if you guys watched this episode while eating Halloween candy, you'd have a completely different perspective.
What do you
on
think
it.
Maybe if I was a little kid, I might, but
Yeah.
but I was already, by the time I saw that, I was already, I think maybe 11 or something.
Yeah. I was a teenager when I saw this.
I was a little kid and I loved it.
I remember
still
seeing
do.
Star Trek on the TV in the 60s because I remember we were living in Bantam, Connecticut. I remember clicking through the channels and seeing Spock standing there in his blue shirt in front of the computer screens. But it was so it was fuzzy. We couldn't get the channel in real well, but it always stuck in my head like, what was that show that I saw with that guy with the pointed ears and stuff? Then it was only a few years later, I think it was 73 or something, I started seeing it on channel 11, WPIX.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that's when I got into it. I was like, oh, I remember that character, Spock,
I didn't know that this show was in color until 1974.
Yeah. I remember the peacock. I remember seeing that stuff. Like, just
you mean the gray cock? That's all I saw.
no, we had
In my little Sony black and white, he went like that. Different shades of gray.
That's what I should say. Aaron Greycock Lupresti.
Hey now. See, look at, you guys are dissing this episode, but we have 3 classic quotable lines from this episode already. And there's probably more if we think about it. I just don't know how you can diss it so hard when it has so much joy.
You can. I agree with you about the lines. It just doesn't mean it's a good episode,
right?
There's
always
I didn't say one line from this. My mind is just get this out of my mind.
Even the sound effect of the creatures, like the weird.
Well, I like that. I thought that was creepy and cool.
Squeaking sound sounded like styrofoam to me or something.
Sounded alien. That's what aliens sound like, Ron. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah,
Ron. I didn't know that. I learned.
If you get down to the border, you would know. You'd hear them.
If I what?
Get down to the border, you would know that.
In Texas.
But no, you're like the wannabe president who's never been there.
You see them all. You see them all the border agents running around like this.
Yeah.
Look, we got that great
comes across like this.
I told you, me and my wife saw an actual UFO up close. I told you that, right?
No.
That story. I didn't tell you that story?
No, I don't think so.
What's that?
Yeah, dudes.
He said he saw a UFO up close.
Me and my wife saw one up close. It wasn't like it was far away. It was literally over the highway. We were driving back from New York State one night. This is back in 2004-ish. Because we're looking at houses in Pennsylvania. And so you had to go through New York State into Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're coming back on 84. And it was in the distance. And we were on the highway. On the right was cliff, mountain. On the left was valley next to the highway, just a valley, nothing there.
Wait a minute. This sounds exactly like Close Encounters. Are you sure?
Distance. I'm quite sure.
All right. Okay.
So, are you questioning me now, Aaron?
I'm questioning your judgment a little bit.
Do you want to hear the story or not?
I do want to hear it.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Right. Anyway, so in the distance, we saw a white light. Right. And I thought it was like from the point of view of like a plane, because sometimes when you see planes in the front, you see their spotlight, and I said to her, and she'll verify this, she was in the car with me. And I was like, wow, why is that plane flying so low? That's weird. It's flying along the highway. That's strange. But it didn't move. And we kept getting, it was probably half a mile away. You could see that far in the distance and get closer and closer. We're just talking. All of a sudden we pull up alongside this thing. And above the highway, just floating there, was like, it looked like a white glowing box with beams coming out of it, just sitting there in midair. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm looking, and my wife is leaned over. We're both like, what is that? And then the other cars that were behind me were all slowed down like this. Everybody's going like this, like trying to figure out what the hell it was. It was one of those things where your brain couldn't comprehend it almost. Like, there's not a day that goes by that it doesn't eat at me a little bit, because I couldn't figure out I can't to this day figure out.
How big was it, would you say?
Size of maybe a tractor trailer. It probably looked like it was 3 telephone pole heights up over the highway. Just
hovering.
Just floating. Like, and right in the center, to me, it looked like my wife said it looked more like a saucer to her, but to me, it looked like a box.
Mm-hmm.
It was just glowing with beams coming out of it like this, and it almost like a lit up ski slope, thing. One of those ski slope things that bring up skiers.
Gondola.
Yeah.
And
yeah. But it was just glowing. There was nothing underneath it, nothing over the top, nothing. It was just there. And to this day, I keep trying to figure out, there had to be a rational explanation. But I can't think of anything.
Was there anything show up in the newspaper the next day or anything like that?
I looked. I still look every now and then. I look. 2004 UFO sighting, New York, Pennsylvania. Nothing that for what I saw. And I drove back there deliberately the following week to see if there was anything in that valley, any kind of structure or anything. Just
now, did you pull over? Did you pull over, roll down your window to see if you could hear anything?
No, it wasn't like that. It was just one of those things where you're driving along and we slowed way down. We're just like, what is that? And it was almost like your brain didn't want to comprehend it. So we just kept driving. And I didn't have, back then, I only had the black flip phone, nothing that had a camera on it that I could photograph it with. So,
see, that's what the aliens do. They make you not want to stop and roll down the window.
Yeah. Hey, can you tell me how to get back to Connecticut?
Yeah.
It was like a black slit in the center of it. I remember looking and thinking I saw a black slit right in the center. Like, that's what my memory keeps telling me, but I don't know how much I've really laid there with my eyes closed and tried to concentrate and really see it again over and over again. There was one time I got a real clear image of what I was looking at again. It was,
you should draw it.
Yeah, well, it was dark out, so all you saw was light, basically, with like this thing like in the center and just light beams. That's it.
Interesting.
Was it anything like the transparent cube they put the Enterprise in this episode?
It was actually kind of like that, actually.
So I brought it around, Graham?
It was sort of, in my memory, it was sort of like that, but with light emanating out of it. And, it wasn't a highway, nothing. It was way too high up anyway. Like normal spotlights off a highway or like telephone pole height. This was about 3 of those up.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing underneath it. I was deliberately looking to see what it was attached to, and it was just nothing. And then when I drove
Chariots of the gods, man, they practically own South America.
And the funny thing is, I'm very skeptical about that shit.
It's all Chariots of the gods, man.
Yep. We're living on someone's thumbnail in space.
Oh man!
Which makes me think of Chekhov's wig in this episode.
That was some wig.
Captain.
Well, the thing was he had really short hair at that time, and they wanted him to have that kind of, like one of the monkeys kind of
look. That Davy Jones look.
Yeah. Now this had that great dramatic commercial cut where he's all sweaty and the lights in his face goes, "We're burning up."
Yeah.
Dun, 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 so there's another great
melodrama I love about Star Trek, where they would come to those breaks, Spock, cut commercial,
Right. How long do they make them hold on to that moment?
Right. Yeah. Did you hear that? It sounded like the pulling back of a machine gun liver or something. He says,
Yeah.
Then they turn around. Dun, dun, dun.
I wonder how long they made, because they did cut from Kirk kissing Uhura. They should have just let that linger for a while.
Oh, they did a commercial break at that point?
Pretty sure, yeah. Because Shatner turns and looks at the Roman, whatever he is, prefect.
Roman, yeah. My wife, whenever I mention Star Trek, her first reaction is like, "Oh, are they going to Rome again?"
Yeah, you said that. Hey, did Mark say he enjoyed doing the show, or what? You talked to him since?
I haven't talked to him. Just what we saw in the messages. Yeah,
what a great guy.
Yeah, he was a great guy. He had a good time. I think we need to have him back. We need to
hopefully for a better episode.
Oh, for crying out loud! Well, he wants.
That's his favorite. You know,
he said he wants to come back on the Nazi episode. So
let's
see what Anna thinks of that.
Yeah,
that's a good episode.
I knew I was going to say it's one of Anna's favorites. She likes being devil's advocate.
I like Bread and Circuses, where they.
I love that episode.
That is a really strong episode for a lot of
reasons.
Where
they have like they do. It's like professional wrestling, but it's like gladiators on TV. I love
they have
that.
commercials and they're selling the Saturn V car.
Always fighting and having a conversation with Spock, like arguing with him as he's the sword. You pointy-eared.
At least hold your shield up. I'm trying.
Yeah. Of all the stupid green-blooded.
There was a shot right there that I love, though, with Spock, where he just hammers the guy with his shield.
When he goes to McCoy's side to help him.
Yeah. He just goes bam with the shield. It shows like how strong Spock actually is. It was really cool.
I feel the same way. That is really, really cool.
Because he's just biding time to figure out what he's going to do, playing with this guy while he's trying to,
Right. How about that giant cat? Yeah, the cat thing. It's a shame that they couldn't do something better with that.
Anna, sorry about you. I can see the look on her face. She's getting. I know. Sad. She's getting.
Yeah, it was a little too soon for this episode for me.
Oh, sure. Huh. Well,
how old was she?
5.
Or he?
5?
Only 5?
Oh, that's young.
Oh
my God. I know.
Oh, that's terrible. They can live up to 23, 24 years.
Yeah.
I know. Her brother's still fine. It's
what did she have? Was it cancer?
No idea. She was completely fine one day, and then I went to go feed her Tuesday night to give them their wet food, and like she was catatonic, and I took her into the vet, and the vet was freaking out. She's like, "Yeah, this cat's dying." I'm like,
did they do any kind of toxicology or anything?
Yeah, they put her in an IV. They checked her blood, and cats, I guess their red blood cell count is supposed to be 70, and hers was 9.
Oh wow.
And they said that only if she lost a lot of blood, that would make sense, but she didn't.
Right.
So they don't know what happened, and they said I could give her a $7,000 blood transfusion, and she might make it. And the vet was just like, we'll keep her here for a few hours, and if she doesn't improve, we'll send her to the emergency vet. And she didn't make it. So,
yeah. Pets. I always say that when you get a pet, you make a deal with the devil. He promises you just ultimate love, but at the very end, you have to cash in a piece of your soul.
Oh, tell me about it. I had a golden retriever that was literally was like my son. It was like, he was 16. I got him to 16 years old because we hiked all the time, and I even brought him to Marvel. I would bring him to Marvel. I remember one time I brought him in, and I would just unleash him, and he would go hightailing it around the offices, and you hear all the editors like, "What the fuck?" Because
I know I stepped in something one time. I was up there in the office. I guess now we know where that came from.
Yeah. So anyway, down I was in an office, and I stepped out, and I heard a commotion. I looked, and my dog, Max, the name was Max after Where the Wild Things Are, but I looked, and he had Bob Harris between his paws, and he was dry humping his leg. Bob freaking Harris, the editor-in-chief, was so funny. Oh,
How did
man.
that go for your
Looking at
next
him like,
assignment?
What's that?
How'd that go for your next assignment?
Yeah, Bob was weird like that, but it was
Bob
funny.
was enjoying it.
I was enjoying.
Yeah, he was. Actually, I'll tell
Ron,
you.
I want you to come in and bring Max every time.
Did you steal that?
Yep.
Yep.
I took it right off his desk.
Oh
That's
my
the
god.
limitations,
The reason I
everybody.
did was because he asked me to do X-Men, right? He comes sidling up to me at the San Diego Con. This is years ago. And my Ghost Rider issue was the first one that used the Photoshop coloring. It was the first issue they printed that used the new coloring. And so it looked really good, and but he sidled up to me. He's like, "So, what do you think? You like doing Ghost Rider?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah." He goes, "How do you feel about coming on Uncanny X-Men?" Now at that time in the early '90s, it's like, what? Hell yeah! One, I mean, the royalties were
The
through the roof
royalties,
back
yeah.
then.
Yeah.
And then two, it was you're reaching the top. So obviously I said yes completely. He's like, all right, I'll talk to you. I'll give you a call next week. Blah, 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 blah. And they were saying because they weren't happy with, he literally said, because the fans aren't happy with JR on it. And I thought that was kind of a fucked up thing because first of all, JR is amazing.
Mhm.
And that he would use his name like that to tell me that, I mean, if you want me on it, just say you want me on it, but don't throw somebody else under the bus over it. So, anyway, whatever, it wasn't that big a deal, but anyway, he never got back to me and I had to go into Marvel and, he would see me. And so obviously he changed his mind. He would see me. I remember that day he would see me and he'd go pretend he was doing something else and go the other way. So I'm like, all right, I can see what's going on here. And it was like really pissed me off because I had already told Bobby Chase I was leaving the book.
Oh.
And so leaving Ghost Rider. And so I finally got him in his office and I turned around. I said to the assistant editor, I said, could you please give us a few moments? And the assistant editor got up, left, and I turned around and I locked the door.
Oh.
And I went over and I sat in front of Bob and I basically said, listen, I have no problems if you don't want me on the book. I said, but at least have the courtesy to communicate with me after you already asked me to be on it. I said, I already quit Ghost Rider. All right, you put me in an awkward position here, and now you're avoiding me like the plague. Just tell me the truth. And I got up, I walked out, I took this right off his desk.
Oh my god.
What did he say? Anything?
Nothing.
He didn't respond to that?
Nope.
Oh my gosh.
He apologized. He was saying, you know what, you're right. I'm sorry, you're right. I'm sorry.
Did he offer you a better job?
No, we didn't. I stayed on Ghost Rider, I think. I don't remember.
No, you jumped over to Captain America, didn't you? Right about that?
I think, yeah, it might have been after that I went on to Captain America, but it
So
wasn't.
who got the X-Men gig?
I think they kept JR on it.
Yeah, he was on there for a long time.
I think he was very fickle like that. He would change his mind. He would, he'd get, because of what happened with Jim and Mark Silvestri and those guys, he was very nervous about who he put on and off books, because Marvel took a big hit when those guys left.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what that was fueled by. I get it. He was when you're editor-in-chief, there's a lot of pressure. So, but that doesn't mean you can't just be courteous,
Right.
Well,
That's the thing I don't like is when guys are dodging you or whatever, and you're like,
Yeah, I totally get if you change your mind. You change
Yeah.
your mind. I get it. At that time too, I was
Even it could have been something like he offered it up and then he realized he can't replace JR because JR has a contract.
and he has a big fan following. To put me on it at that time, where JR was a much bigger name than I was, to take JR off in lieu of me, who didn't have. I had a following by the time I got off Cap. That's when I had a jump in followers. Actually, even Ski, there was a guy named Ski who was the sales guy there. He told me, he said, when you went on Surfer, the copies jumped up over 30,000 a month.
Wow.
So that's when I knew, but before that but it was because of Cap. But before that, I didn't have the following. So it would have been a stupid business move to take JR off, who had a much bigger following than I did.
Right.
So I get it. Just be honest. That's all. So
Yeah,
Well, at least you got his placard. So you
anyway,
don't have to-
sorry, we're going off there. We're taught here talking
that's all
about
right. It's all interesting stuff. Let's give this bad. We know what Anna's rating is, a 1. Let's see if we can do better. Ron, how about you?
I was gonna give it a 4.
Oh my gosh.
A 4? Okay. Okay.
Unbelievable. What would DeSalle?
I just didn't. I just thought it was hokey and corny, and the characters were silly. What was his name again, Aaron? The guy.
DeSalle. What do you think DeSalle would have said
DeSalle.
talking to Bob Harris? What do you think
Bald guy.
DeSalle would have said?
I'm talking about the bald guy.
Oh,
Korab.
Korab. Yeah. Even that
Korak.
name was annoying to me. Everything about it just annoying.
You know that guy got
He was a
killed like a
wimp.
couple months after he finished filming that.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, he died in a
I
car
recall
accident.
seeing him in other stuff though. Back then.
Yeah, but he did another TV show that hadn't aired yet, and it aired posthumously because he got killed in a car accident.
But what he was actually in Twilight Zone.
Oh yeah, he's been in a lot of stuff
Yeah, he was
prior to
in
that. Yeah, but this was
Twilight.
like his last thing he filmed before he died.
No,
Not the
that's
last thing that aired. There was another TV show. That aired
another reason I hate the episode. What a gloomy, foreboding.
Yeah, he should have taken that wand with him. You know.
Look at Aaron's face, so dejected.
All right, so we got
I really
4.
expected more from you guys on this episode.
I just watched this and I can't tell you what the hell happened in this episode. I know the beginning and I know the end. Everything in
There's
the
just
middle.
no point to it. It was just a bunch of, it's like with Arena, you have an alien race that's coming and manipulating human beings and doing this shit, and here you got this race manipulating human beings and doing that shit. But the setup and the drama surrounding it was just too cartoonishly campy for Star Trek for me. It was.
And why just those two on that planet?
Yeah, that's the other thing. You never really understood that. They said something about it at the end that they were a dying race or something. Didn't they say that?
They travel on the winds of space or something. I don't know how they got there, or I don't remember. It wasn't very clear.
It was always a lot of these episodes always having humans manipulated.
What was the original plan for this episode if the budget wasn't limited? Do you know?
Well, I mean, there was all kinds of different trap things. There was like a huge maze thing, and the giant cat was supposed to be huge. And it was supposed to be chasing them. There was like magic involved, which there sort of was in this. They made it seem like magic, but they kind of.
Oh, was it ever just? Did they ever describe that it was deliberately Halloweenish, like taking it out of their minds or something? The human.
Yeah. I mean,
established that, right?
Yeah. Those tropes
really got into the
out of their mind.
subconscious level.
Right.
It was very okay. All right. Admittedly, it was very contrived, and it was very sort of, this is obviously our Halloween special for the year kind of episode. But because I saw it when I was pretty young and loved the whole Halloween aspect of it, I have never lost that the charm that it had for me, despite the fact that you can pick apart the plot and some of the characters being. I mean, the wizard guy, the bald guy, was like, he turned into a wimp practically instantly, and suddenly cared about these guys who they'd captured and were threatening just 5 minutes before, silly stuff like that. But I did like, there's great DeSalle moments. There's killer lines in this, quotable
Aaron,
lines. Yeah.
Aaron, come here. It's okay. Aaron.
I'm giving it a 7.
Aaron, do you need
Seven?
Aaron, do you need validation?
Oh my God.
Wow.
I like this episode. The heck with all
Everybody,
of you. The heck with all of you.
everybody, Aaron needs validation. Aaron, you know what? You're right. You're right, Aaron. I actually see the light now. I love the show. This episode is one of
That's
my
right, Ron. It has good lines.
I
It
like
has good lines, and
Hey.
DeSalle's amazing.
Yeah, he is. Credits
Yeah.
to Navy Beans. This is a good episode.
Sal's one of my favorite characters.
Whatever happened?
Sal's a dick in this one.
I know. That's why I like him. He's throwing people around the bridge. He's making fun of Chekhov.
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm not that green, sir. Okay, I'm gonna give. So, what was yours, Ron? A 4?
I think it was a 4. Just not one of my favorites.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this is average. You know, it's just an average show. I'll give it a 5.
I'll accept an average episode. Okay.
I'll give it a 5. It's not one that I look for to turn on. But so we've got 5, 4, 7, and 1.
So you have to take out the highest number and the lowest number. So me and Graham are at 4.
Yeah, you're like 4.5.
Yeah, so that's.
I think that's a fair. I think that's a fair assessment.
4.5.
Yeah.
Maybe Anna and I are just too extreme. I don't know. But
I don't know. We all have our extreme moments when we're grading these things. Like, oh, I love that. That's a 10. And then, that's a 4. You know.
What are you talking about? 10.
Mhm.
I know.
Oh,
Anna,
we got a good one coming up tomorrow, next week. At least I think it's a good one. Metamorphosis.
oh my gosh, 1. Are you
See?
kidding me?
You see?
You really?
No, I hate this episode.
This is the one.
It's
with,
not a 1 though. It's not a
This
1.
is
But
the
I
one
don't.
with.
Do you think that the
Zephyr
chicks in the
Cochrane.
room
Yeah, that's.
I see.
one of my
This is one of
favorites.
the. It's just too romancy and just.
Oh my God, Jesus!
gosh, it's like.
We're
Really?
gonna
I
have
thought it wasn't like romancy.
I
that
love
much.
this one.
It was
I
kinda
love
Oh
this
cute.
one.
my gosh, you
I
guys.
love the idea that this guy is trapped there by this entity that keeps him alive out of loneliness. I mean, how do you not like an episode like that? It's such a.
I'll give you plenty of
Think
reasons.
about being out in deep space. This guy who invented the warp drive and to travel to the stars, and that was his ultimate.
And he went out there to die.
Yeah,
And now he finds himself not dying and younger.
by the companion. And think
By the
about it, the
companion.
and you're there, and the only thing you can do is communicate with that thing.
Yeah.
Through, like this emotional
sick.
connection.
It's sick interspecies.
I don't understand
to
your
Star
provincial
Trek.
thinking, Aaron.
Interspecies. That reminds me of a heavy metal thing I saw that Mobius drew. And he's like in I forgot the character's name. Might have been Dan or something. Well, that was Richard Corbin.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was a Mobius drew it, and he was on bed with this hot chick, and all of a sudden it turned into this. He was like, they were having sex, and all of a sudden he was blowing his nut, and just as he was doing it, it turned into this big octopus creature that had a tentacle around his dick.
Oh, jeez. That was in heavy metal?
It was in heavy metal. I was like,
Based on the Star Trek episode.
yeah.
Wow.
I mean,
That magazine was seriously. I didn't realize how hardcore it was when I.
Well, you should see some of Aaron's drawings for his Kit Carter. He's got so much tentacle stuff in that.
Oh, you guys, and I don't even know what you're talking about.
Aaron, what is this she's talking about?
this is
Aaron,
crazy.
I saw. No, we're
Oh,
talking about Aaron's campaign, and there's lots of tentacles in it.
there is. Oh my gosh,
Aaron.
there is not. This is. I'm getting a bum rap
You're
here.
projecting.
No, I'm completely innocent. I
Aaron,
don't know
do
what
you
they're
have
talking-
do you
I don't
have
know what you're
tentacle
talking about.
fantasies, Aaron?
I
Isn't
don't know.
that something in Japanese porn? Isn't there
Yeah.
something?
It's because you can't show the stuff, so they make tentacles and stuff.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay.
Yep.
Is it, there's a name for that style, isn't it? Like,
Yeah, tentacle porn.
yeah. I don't know what it
There's
is.
a specific name, but it's just like hentai.
What does
Oh.
hentai mean?
Sexy
Yeah.
time stuff. Like it's
That's all
their
that
word
means
for
is
porn,
sexy
basically.
time, hentai, or whatever.
It's their word for porn, basically.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
Like drawn porn.
Interesting.
any other terms that you'll know of, Anna, that I confuse myself with?
Do you know what futanari is?
No, what is? I've
You
heard.
probably don't want to know.
What's the word?
Justin. Is it like I guess is it like
It's tranny porn.
granny porn? Okay,
What's it called?
Futanari.
All right.
Utanari?
Guten Abend?
No, Futanari.
It's
F-U-N.
Oh,
What the hell's wrong with these people?
tranny porn.
Ah.
Okay.
I'm glad
Well,
I could teach you
That's
guys.
a long way.
Anna, what
That's a
else?
long
What
way
else
from,
is there, Anna?
Star Trek.
Look at this face. Look at this face.
Mhm.
Ah.
Anna, go through a list of what they're of terms.
Yeah, it's okay.
So far, you've told me hentai and
I'll
funatari.
limit on what I teach you guys.
Oh gosh. All right.
Funatari, fudanuri, fudanura.
Futanari.
Atari Force.
What else? What else is there?
Ask Aaron. He's the one that draws the tentacles.
Oh my gosh! Just because I like the Halloween
I
episode,
love
now
it.
I'm getting this.
I love the
Oh my gosh!
right across the screen to Aaron. Zing.
Listen, I noticed the tentacle things the first time he was showing his Kit Carter campaign, and his face turned bright red.
I hadn't even thought of it, and you guys are just dumping on me all this tentacle porn. I'm like, what are you
Well,
Aaron,
talking
Aaron,
about?
nobody's dumping on you. I don't even know about it. So tell me all about it. Let me hear it. Is it
Pull up
actual
a couple of your
tentacle
covers from
porn?
your
Okay,
campaign.
that
I'll
she was
show you.
wrapped up in a dinosaur's tail, and they were just calling that tentacle porn, which is not true. And
It
then there
was
was
more
this
than
tree
that.
monster that had roots that was, getting her, and they're like, "Oh, more tentacle porn." I'm like, "It's a root. It's a tree monster." Ah,
So the root of the tree wasn't a metaphor for.
it wasn't metaphor for anything.
It wasn't a hard trunk that
I
was.
think you're so.
Oh my god! See, I'm gonna retire. That's
Anna, will you tell me the truth off air about Aaron's tentacle fetish?
You have to ask Aaron. I think it's his subconscious letting it out of his
No,
mind.
I've never even seen any of that crap. Oh,
Not till you started drawing it.
oh my gosh!
You don't
doesn't
have to.
see it. He creates it.
He creates it. Yeah.
Get me out of here! Get me out of here, Graham. Beat
All
me
right.
up,
I'm going to
man.
beam us all out of here,
Oh,
gang.
geez.
Thank you, everybody in the chat, for tuning in tonight. Next week is Metamorphosis. Tomorrow at noon is the very last episode of 31 Days of Monsters. I can't believe we've come to the end. And we're going to be doing my favorite movie of all time, The Thing from Another World. So tune in for that, and we will see you.
What year was that?
1951.
Now, I think I remember seeing that one. Thing from Another
James
World.
Arnett.
That's not the one where they're trapped in the spaceship, are they? What was the one that was?
Oh, no, that's It, The Terror from Beyond Space.
Yeah, that was what Alien was loosely
Correct.
based on. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So, yeah, we'll be talking about that tomorrow. Until then,
Think about that, though. Not to keep going real quick, but think about how far they came to 1979, from 1959 to 79, 20 years, from It to Alien. You know what I mean? How more advanced they got in 20 years.
yeah,
I've always said the most advancements made in technology have been in the film industry and special effects.
Yeah,
amazing.
well, I realized that watching the Spider-Verse. I couldn't believe that.
well, the irony is that you watch those 50 sci-fi movies and they got those cigar rockets flying through space and landing upright, and then you have in 1979 you got Alien with this gigantic freighter type thing, but here in 2024 we've got cigar rockets landing straight down.
Come on, Anna.
Isn't
We
that
have
amazing?
cigar
Yeah.
rockets.
It's just another example of what we fantasize about. We turn into reality.
Yeah,
It's
Wait,
just like,
Aaron, you mean
Looks like they
Elon
were
getting
right.
it in?
just like tentacle porn.
just like, and on that, my friends, we shall say good evening. Bye, everybody.
everyone.